Hello, hello, hello. What's up, crew? All right, let's move this to here. All right, waiting for some people to jump on. What's up, Claudia? All right, YouTube and Facebook. What's up, Ernesto? Chew on that. Runner cat lover. What's up, Joanne? How's everyone doing? All right. For those in the Northeast, we got some snow today. What's up, Karina? So I've been dealing with that a couple times today. YouTube and Facebook, what's up? For some reason, my camera, I think I need a new streaming software because it only works when it wants to work, which is really annoying. Instagram, you guys can ask questions or whatever, but we're going to get into it. I got less than 20% battery on my phone. Thank you. My mom made this. And I actually wear it because I really like it. And now she makes me hats all the time. And I'll take them and wear them. I wear a couple of them. So, all right, let's get into it. All right, because I have low battery. My name's Justin Harris. This is Monday Musings, so welcome. I'm a coach who's worked with beginner athletes to Olympic medalists, and from speed and power events to ultra endurance races. So I have a wide breadth of experience. If you're new to this and new to me, welcome. All right. Here, the Monday Musings are really about my having the opportunity for me to talk about something I'm working with either in my practice of coaching one-on-one clients or group coaching, something I'm seeing in the industry, or just something I feel like going off on. And so it's an opportunity for you guys to listen to my perspective and for me to work out some of my ideas and whatnot. It's also an opportunity for you to comment, ask questions. I'll answer some questions either about the topic I'm talking about. I have curiosities, or questions about training or whatever. So here we go. What's up, Justin? All right. So what I'm going to talk about today is, let me get my notes for a second. Okay. Oh yeah. So we're going to talk about wearables. All right. And what I'm going to say, I'm just going to call it out there. All right. You're losing performance and you're paying for it. Okay. So what do I mean by you're losing performance and paying for it? Well, the first question comes in, how? How is that happening? And it's happening right here or the wristbands or whatever it is. All right. It's the wearables. All right. And this gets me into the idea of like what really, what is the purpose of smartwatches or wearables? Okay. What's up, Jess? So the purpose of a smartwatch or a wearable is to collect data, okay? Collect information. And the information it's trying to collect is what is happening in the body, and some of them outside the body, okay? So in the body, what is it trying to assess? It's trying to assess heart rate variability, resting heart rate, pulse ox, all these different sensors. But really what it's trying to assess is what kind of response is happening inside the body, okay? And then it's tracking things outside, temperature, pace or power, elevation gain, and all these different things. All right, reconnecting. If I lose you guys, just let me know, okay? So it's collecting information both internally and externally, all right? Why? It is collecting this information so that you can understand yourself better in order to perform. Okay? So We use these as a device to track internal and external metrics that allow us to perform. How do we perform? Okay. So what it's trying to do also is it's really trying to measure reality. And that's really challenging. Okay. So each company does it a different way. And this is a big issue, right? So Koros has a wellness check, and it's pretty good with matching, what's going on here. But all these devices, whether it's Garmin, Whoop, Oura Ring, it's all doing it passively. Okay. And each company is coming to this conclusion of like how to help people perform by staying healthy. All right. And so to help you perform by staying healthy, all right, each company is doing a little different, right? So some things are looking at like the parasympathetic system. Some things are looking at like your ability to like handle stress, and there's a lot of different things happening here. I don't follow what every company is doing, but it's kind of like they're coming at the like question in slightly different ways. And then internally we're doing ourselves. And if you hire a coach, they might be doing it in a totally different way as well. Okay. So this adds complexity. Like, what does my Apple Watch say compared to my Garmin or my Coros? What does Strava say compared to Training Peaks, right? So what does Garmin Connect say to Training Peaks? It just gets into this like really confusing place. And this is why I'll keep saying is you're losing performance and you're paying for it. And I'm going to continue to explain why. All right. So this would be a much better and easier conversation to have if the devices were extremely reliable and extremely accurate. In so many domains, we are really stringent in health, all right, in finance, in accounting, in running a company, in whatever it is, right? We want to understand what the real picture is, right? And we can ask thousands of questions or get thousands of data points. But it's really how do I say it? It's really about the relationships between information that really is where the weight is. Okay. And when the information is coming from these, as soon as we start moving, if it's a little too tight, if it's a little too loose, all right, we're going to get less than accurate information. All right. And so when that happens, we are starting to build these conclusions based on metrics that aren't fully accurate. Okay. All right. And you need to be understanding that these are inaccurate. And I think inherently we know this. And this is why I'm going to say here's my main point. Do you alter training based on the metrics that are coming at you? And this is not a rhetorical question. I'm going to keep talking, but answer it. Please answer me this question. Do you change training when the metrics start becoming more negative? Or do you stick to the plan? Do you alter training based on your HRV score going down? Do you change your training based on your VO2 max score dropping over a month? Do you adjust while you're sick or after being sick your training, or do you just get back into it? You're losing performance and you're paying for it. All right. So if there are no adjustments to your training based on the metrics that are coming in, you're losing performance and you're paying for it by paying for these expensive devices to tell you what to do. All right. So if it's a no, then what is the fucking point? Why are you spending $1,000 on a watch to give you all these metrics and then you're not going to change your training based on it? Because inherently, I think we all know that the information coming out, you cannot trust. And if you can't trust it, you're not going to make adjustments. If you're not going to make adjustments, then you're losing performance, because there sometimes is some things to take away from this information. And if you're not adjusting your training, then what's the point? Now, some of you might be hearing this and be like, okay, next time my HRV is down, I'm going to not train. And it's also not the answer. I was listening to where I've come, why I'm having this conversation. I'm building something that I've done in the past with like subjective questionnaires. So all these things are passively capturing objective data. And we as an ecosystem, as an entity, as a human, have subjective feelings. All right. People say subjective feelings can be noisy, but the research shows time and time again that subjective data from an athlete is more indicative of their readiness, of the training load they're doing, blah, blah, blah. It keeps going on and on. And these things, sometimes they ask you how you're doing, but they're solely going off the external or internal metrics that are objective. And they're passively done. Again, HRV, I took my HRV every day for a year. And I took it on the back of my phone with the HRV for Training app or something pro. Marco Altini, this Italian guy, he's super smart, machine learning, all this stuff. People are super popular. And it shines a light on your camera, and it's like as good as, you know, a medical grade sensor that goes on your finger in the hospital for pulse ox and HRV and resting heart, like your current heart rate, right? And so I took it every day. When you swallow saliva, it's an artifact. Like it will raise your it will raise your heart rate instantaneously, like within a second. All of a sudden, I'm like 57, and then I swallow and I'm up to like 72, and I'm back down. That's an artifact. So if it's passively doing it, when I'm actively trying to take my HRV and not swallow and get the most accurate reading, we can see where these things start to get diluted in their use. All right. So how do I use it? All right, with myself, and then I'll talk about my clients, right? So how I use the information is when I was looking at it, my HRV was down a little bit. I was more curious and saying, for HRV, it's basically like how much can we absorb? And that's really what HRV is saying. Like high HRV, which is a good thing, high heart rate variability is a good thing, means we're in a relaxed state. That means we can handle more intensity or more volume or more density. Like we're okay, right? So it doesn't mean you can just go smash yourself, right? But it means you have the ability to absorb what you're going to do today at a higher degree. And maybe you can see it like arbitrarily, like see it as percentage. It's not accurate, but at 100%, if you're like 90 HRV, like maybe you can absorb 98% of the training today, okay? And look at it. It's not true, all right? But like the metaphor analogy, I think is okay, right? But if we're down at 70%, then we're only going to absorb 70%. So if we're sick or something like that, right? Like ends up being like, well, I'm not going to change the training, or I don't want to miss training. And we're doing it for other purposes than what this information is telling us, right? And so, yeah, the watch is a tool, not the Bible, right? This is not the eye of Sauron. This is not an omnipotent God. This is not the divine right to be all true. All right. It's a tool. And how do we utilize tools? So let me talk about how I utilize a tool so that you are gaining performance and you're not wasting your money on devices that aren't working. All right. So what I end up doing is I use it to help be a sounding board on my own perceived position. And I'm not feeling so great today. Hey, walking up those stairs was a little harder than normal. Walking down the stairs felt a little bit different, right? I'm having this conversation with myself, and then I look at the information, all right, when I was doing it, all right, but because these aren't great, I don't do it religiously because I've calibrated my own internal system to be more accurate, all right? And I tend to take a conservative approach. So I'd be conservative, all right? So like, I don't feel great today. I have a workout today. What should I do? It doesn't mean don't do the workout unless you're absolutely in the trash, in the trenches. All right. You're Oscar the Grouching it, right? Like you're just like not good, in a good place. Then maybe you back off. But basically, I'll pull back intensity a little bit, or duration at intensity. I'll shorten it, or I'll just cut the reps or something like that. So I still get something in. And then I'm just mindful through the thing and having this question, not doubt in my head. Like I can't do it. I know I can do it, but how much am I going to absorb out of that? And so that's one way I think about it. The other way I think about it is I'm looking at trends over time. So if something changes in one day, again, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden something like terrible or catastrophic is going to happen today. It just means like I need to be on the lookout. All right. So this is a way that we can use our devices and go from there. Now, this is me internally. I constantly use it to internally calibrate myself. How do I use it in coaching? All right. I want my athletes to gain performance by being healthier, which healthier looks like training more consistently over time. Consistency is what builds confidence. It builds more fit athletes. And you can only do that if you're not on the sideline with some kind of injury. Okay. So, what I try to get my clients to do, all right, I have some clients that listen to me. They don't really challenge me too much. They'll ask questions and we'll have discussions and we feel like we're together. I have some clients that question me sometimes, and that's okay. I should be questioned, right? And then I have some clients that question me constantly, 24/7, all the time, never fully trusting. And so they just want to do what the training plan is because they're really used to templates and following a path. All right. So some people started there and have moved away from it. Some people are just stuck in this place. It happens. It's okay. Humans are messy. All right. But how I try to get my clients to use the information is to look at what's coming from Garmin or Coros or Apple or whatever and see more like trends. All right. And when trends happen, we want to like be a little bit conservative on it. All right. Because like treat your training like you treat your money. We don't want to lose money. Like if we gain money, we don't want to lose it, especially in investing. I'm not doing such a great job right now. All right. With some of my positions. All right. I'm playing the long-term game. All right. So long story short, I'm going to give this an example. All right. So I was talking to a client today and they got a stomach bug and they weren't feeling good and they kind of got wiped out for a weekend. And they come back and we had a conversation and I was just like, okay, like, yeah, it's a cute thing. It's not a chronic thing. Like you got sick, yeah, your belly upset, whatever. And so I told her, I said, well, you'll be back in full action in 2 weeks. And she is someone who's like, like doesn't really fight me on too much. And I was like, look, I'm not trying to like say like the next 2 weeks is going to be useless. It just means like in 2 weeks from now, you'll feel like you're firing on all cylinders and great. Like, doesn't mean we're not training. We're still going to train, but we're going to ease our way back into it because we spent a lot of money being sick to the body as far as the body's concerned. So I was talking to her today and it's like, this happened like months ago. And I'm like kind of talking about some of these contexts and I'm going to save really what's happening behind the scenes. Has something to do with covariance matrices and volatility and correlation. But she was like, you know what? Yeah, I remember when you said 2 weeks, and I went to my husband and be like, bullshit. Like, I'm gonna be fine like in a couple days. And she went to her friend that I also train, and she's like, Justin says that it's gonna take me like 2 weeks before I felt normal. And she has an Oura ring, and she does listen to it. I was asking her, do you ever change training? She's like, well, I remember that time you said it was gonna be 2 weeks. All my metrics were down, and it took 2 weeks for my metrics to get back to normal. All right. And she's like, you ended up being right, but I really doubted that it would take that long. And I said, well, we didn't stop training, right? Like, she's like, no, we kept training. I was like, was it the full training we had planned? She's like, no, you modified a little bit and eased me back in. Absolutely. Right. So I try to use this information with clients who want to use it. Now, I've had someone who was like, my HRV's up and I don't want to do the workout. And it's like, okay, like, I think that's a little drastic. We're not going to get sick right away. I've had this multiple times. Like, we start over attuning to certain metrics once we learn. So I get it in a heart rate. I teach someone heart rate. Now they're aware of their heart rate and they're like, my heart rate's high and I'm not enjoying my run and my heart rate's high. And it's like, just relax. There's certain runs where we don't care if the heart rate's high. It's all right. But there's certain runs we do. And I see this time and time again. When you learn a new data point, we get too stuck to it. So I feel like most of people who are watching this, I can guarantee you guys on YouTube and Facebook and you guys on Instagram, you're losing performance and you're paying for it. You're not listening to your devices because they're not wholly accurate, and that's okay. But I think we're missing out on some trends and learning how to calibrate yourself in order to not need this omnipotent thing. All right. And uh, yeah, and there's things that I'm developing and trying to build out to help better answer some of these questions. But subjective measures: how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's your mood like? What's your stress like? How many hours of sleep do you get? It's a certain survey that's like been validated and reliable. Just a simple, like, this is why coaches, like, we ask, like, hey, how you doing? It seems like a simple question, but there's a lot of variables embedded in that answer. So I believe you're losing out on performance and you're paying for it by buying these devices. I'm not implying that you should sell the devices or get rid of them, but you should try to use them to calibrate your own internal metrics so that you can understand and get to know your body better without overthinking it. And it happens over time. Coaches help people calibrate this by, drawing lines in the sand and going from there. But yeah, I think we're losing performance and you're paying for it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So be careful with the wearables. Let me go through here on Instagram, see what you guys are saying. All right. All right, Claudia, no, stick to plan. I listen to you. Yes, Claudia, we've had a few moments where you did not, and we talked about it, right? Why are we doing it? Why are we doing extra or whatever? Justin, if it's an easy run, I will slow down if my heart rate is too high. Yeah. So is that in session or going in beforehand? Like your resting heart rate is. All right. What's up, Joanne? That's what the coach is doing. When tired, adjust the plan. Yep. Yeah. And that's like, sometimes I fight with people and like, well, I'm supposed to do this. And I'm like, well, this is just a template. And when you pay $50 or $100 for a one-off plan, like a template, yeah, you should. It's written like imagining like the best case scenario. But I often write my stuff. This is why I don't do one-on-one, like one-off plans. Like, hey, just write a static plan for me. I don't do it because I find that they imply a little too much. All right. All right, Caroline. But question: when my training readiness score is higher, I feel like my training is better. Is that psychological? Well, when your training readiness score is higher, that means you're in a place to absorb more, and that therefore your training is going better because you can hit the power paces more easily because your body's not in as stressed of a state. So yeah, I think that's fine. What's up, P Moon? Hey, Drew. All right, it's a data point factor. I consider 3 factors: coach's plan, how I feel, Garmin watch data. Yeah, so I would say like the hierarchy is, as coaches, like, I mean, we're really trying to use our wisdom and calculate like many variables onto like imagining how you're going to feel. This is why, like, when I get new clients, I'm like, it's going to take me like 6 weeks to like build a model of like what you're like. And then, like as I'm tuning to it, but you're showing me here. So, I'm trying to get in like, hey, what does Justin think like? Like on Wednesdays, he's got this work. So I'll plan back a little bit lighter so that, we can really, I want to be careful saying maximize, right? Because maximizers are always pushing limit, but we really want to like get the most out of our budget for the day. All right. Without overdoing it. But yeah, we really want to calibrate how we feel, and the Garmin watch data can help, but it can also make it really confusing. The watch is a tool, not the Bible, but without a coach or full awareness of your own internal metrics versus RPA scale, the watch for me is useful at heart rate, which has been helpful, include and other things. Yeah, so we want to like learn how to use it. Like me, yes, Nazarene, yes, Joanne. Change is not easy, right? But we're all here to, like, if we thought about, listen, in order to grow, there needs to be friction. Just think of a child learning how to walk or how to tie their shoes or how to read or how to do math, being involved in early ed and around kids. We see them fail all the time. And sometimes it can be very challenging. But some reason as adults, we think we got this all figured out and that we can do it on our own. And, we pay for people to help us out, right? And go from there. What's up, Neil? What's up, Kralim? CR Limbracher, Triron. What's up, Karina? Just makes the watch stop beeping at me. I did miss it though. Yeah. So I'm curious about like how you utilize your devices, what questions you have about the devices. I'm not an expert in all of them, but yeah, I'll hang out with you guys for a little bit more. I have, yeah, I'm going to go to my phone dies. Actually, right before my phone dies so I can save the file for people who can't make it. So we just got our wine order from Weiss. They're German. They're formerly from Germany, Mosel, I think, or whatever. So Weiss, but it's a small winery in the Finger Lakes on Keuka Lake, and this is one of their Chardonnays, which is nice. Maybe a little fruitier than some other people like it, but still, I'm not a big fan of oaked Chardonnays. It's not my cup of tea, but I always try it, at least a sip. So, yeah, curious about what you guys, any training questions you have. How do you utilize your devices? But if you're just jumping on it, I've been talking about how you're losing performance and paying for it with wearables, right? And so I think we're focusing too much on objective metrics, and we're missing out on the subjective feel to really create the whole ecosystem on, basically reality and how we are um, using all this information to train. And so when you're working with a one-on-one coach or group coaching or whatever it is, even when you're in high school, but like the coach is trying to manage like all these variables, internal, external, and to coach you with where you're at today. And it's really fucking complicated and hard, but the best coaches try to make it really easy. And sometimes how we make it easy is we just say, yeah, no, we can talk about it later, but I don't want it to make you think about it too much. But I have to make this adjustment now because I feel like it's the call to keep you healthy and whatever. And we do this over time, over and over again. So we're constantly making judgment calls. So, yeah. What's up, Jillian? So I'm curious who got hit with snow, what questions you have about wearables. Do you feel like one wearable is better than the other? How do you utilize it? I'm curious to what you guys think. Oh, come on now. Don't be shy. Maybe I'm not connected. I still see you guys. So if you're just joining, these are my Monday musings where I talk about things that I'm seeing in my coaching practice, in the industry, and I have the opportunity to get on my soapbox and chat about this stuff. And I'm always happy to see the athletes I'm coaching jump on here and give their input. Also, too, I'm not afraid to be challenged on stuff. I don't know everything. I'm always open for learning. So, all right. Well, cool. Well, appreciate you guys for hanging out. If you're watching this later, throw in some DMs, ask questions. How do you use wearables? How do you get into it? How do you utilize it? But I can almost assure you, you're not using it in the way that it's intended because it's not really fully accurate. However, there's trends of information that can help you out. So how you go about utilizing that, that's really the art of training and figuring out yourself. And, if you're curious about it, you can reach out. We can talk about it, try to work on it and whatnot. I do consultations to help you walk through it, look at some of your numbers, stuff like that. You can just DM me and yeah, we'll go from there. So anyway, everyone, have a good night. Hopefully everyone stayed cool, nice and warm, and I will see you next week on Monday Musings. Later all.